Bear's Big Hug. Moral story about it's kind to ask before you act, and respect others' feelings. Benny is a soft, round bear with fluffy, light brown fur and a warm, friendly face. His big, curious eyes sparkle with kindness, and his rosy cheeks puff up when he smiles. Benny's arms are short but strong, always ready for a hug, and he wears a red checkered scarf around his neck that flutters slightly when he walks. His round belly jiggles a little with each step, and his gentle, lumbering movements make him look both cuddly and calm. Though he's big, his heart is even bigger, always wanting to share love and friendship with those around him. Benny the bear was a big, fluffy bundle of hugs. He loved squeezing his forest friends to show he cared. But one day, in the middle of a cheerful hug, he noticed his bunny friend gently rubbing her arm with a sad look on her face. Benny stepped back and asked softly, "Was that too tight?" The bunny nodded. Benny gave a small smile and whispered, "I'm sorry." Later that day, Benny sat with a gentle animal teacher in a colorful classroom made of tree stumps, leaves, and bright forest flowers. The walls were lined with drawings, and the teacher showed pictures of different ways to ask before hugging. She pointed to one where a bear asked first, and the animal friend smiled. Benny's eyes lit up. He understood, being kind means asking first. The next time Benny saw his sheep friend in a field of flowers, he held out his arms and asked, "May I give you a hug?" The sheep smiled warmly and nodded. Their hug was gentle and happy. Benny felt proud. At the forest playground, Benny spotted a nervous squirrel climbing down from a log. Instead of rushing in with a big bear hug, Benny raised his paw and said, "High five?" The squirrel grinned and slapped his paw with a happy squeak. Benny giggled. Hugs weren't the only way to show you care. Later, Benny sat beside a small bird on a mossy log. The bird chirped softly about how hugs sometimes made her feel overwhelmed. Benny listened carefully, nodding. Afterward, he waved kindly to her. She chirped cheerfully and flapped her wings in thanks. As the sun began to set, Benny found himself surrounded by forest friends. Each animal shared their favorite way to feel close. Some liked handshakes, some smiled, and others just liked sitting side by side. Benny gave high fives, gentle pats, and warm waves to each one. Now, Benny the bear still loved to show love, but he had learned something special: everyone feels cared for in different ways. And the best way to be kind is to ask first. The end. The Mouse Who Saved the Harvest, a moral story about helping others. The sun had shone brightly all summer, and the farm fields were full of golden wheat, juicy berries, and sweet corn. The animals worked together to gather the harvest before the weather changed. Everyone had a job: the cows pulled carts, the chickens pecked fallen seeds, and the goats stacked bundles of hay. But no one noticed the smallest helper of all, a quiet little mouse named Millie. Millie was too small to lift heavy things, so she busied herself picking up the tiniest grains and tucking them safely into dry corners of the barn. She listened to the wind and watched the sky, always alert. One morning, while the others were still working in the sun, Millie noticed dark clouds forming far away. She sniffed the air and felt a change. Rain was coming, and fast. She scurried to warn the others. "The rain is near," she squeaked. But the bigger animals barely heard her. "Just a little longer," they said. "There's still time." But Millie didn't wait. She dashed from one pile to another, dragging twine to cover the hay, pushing berries under the roof, and nudging loose corn into baskets. Her tiny paws worked quickly as the wind began to howl. Then the rain came. It poured over the fields, turning the ground to mud. The animals ran for shelter, worried that much of the harvest was lost. But to their surprise, many of the smaller, uncovered piles had been protected. Millie's careful work had saved what others had missed. When the rain stopped, the sun peeked through the clouds, and everyone came out to see what was left. The farmer smiled, the animals cheered, and Millie, though tired and wet, felt proud. She had shown that even the smallest helper could make a big difference when they paid attention and cared. From that day on, Millie wasn't just the tiny mouse in the barn, she was the one who saved the harvest. The end. Cat Clean It Up, Tidy and Neat, a moral story of responsibility and tidiness. Coco the cat was a playful little kitten who loved to leap, tumble, and chase her favorite red yarn across the cozy room she called home. She had soft, grey fur with snowy white paws that padded gently over the floor, and her bright green eyes sparkled with mischief. Her room was full of toys, books, buttons, and ribbons, things she adored but rarely put away. One bright morning, Coco dashed across the room with excitement, darting around her toys in search of something new to play with. But before she could reach her yarn, her paws slipped on a toy ball hidden beneath a blanket. She tumbled gently to the ground and landed in a soft pile of scattered blocks, ribbons, and puzzle pieces. Coco sat up with wide eyes, looking around at the mess she had made. She placed a thoughtful paw on her chin and tilted her head, wondering how it had all gotten so out of hand. With a deep breath and a little nod, Coco decided it was time to take care of her space. She picked up her tiny kitty broom and began sweeping crumbs into a dustpan, her tail swaying as she worked. The more she cleaned, the better she felt. Her soft pink bed was fluffed, her books lined up neatly, and her ribbons rolled into little bundles. As the last puzzle piece clicked back into its box, Coco looked around proudly. Her once cluttered room now looked bright and open. She gave a little hop and twirl, dancing a happy cleanup dance in the middle of her tidy space, paws tapping softly on the floor. Later that afternoon, Coco invited her animal friends into her playroom. The bunny, the mouse, the piglet, and the goat stepped in and gasped in delight. They clapped and smiled, praising her beautiful, clean room. Coco beamed with joy, her chest puffed with pride. From that day on, Coco still had her playful, bouncing fun. But now, after every game, she took time to clean up because a neat space made everything more enjoyable. And whenever she swept with her tiny broom or tucked away a toy, she remembered how good it felt to take care of the things she loved. The end.
The Goose Gives a Hand, a moral story of teaching that giving even small things can bring big smiles. Gertie the goose lived on a sunny little farm where everyone knew her for her cheerful honks and helpful nature. Gertie is a gentle and cheerful goose with soft, snowy white feathers that fluff around her plump, round body. She has big, kind eyes that sparkle with friendliness and a bright orange beak that's always curled into a warm smile. Her wings are slightly oversized, flapping excitedly whenever she's happy or helping others. Gertie wears a light blue ribbon tied loosely around her neck, adding a touch of charm to her already sweet appearance. She waddles with a bouncy, energetic step, always looking for a way to lend a helping wing to her farmyard friends. One bright morning, as she waddled past the barn, she noticed a big wooden wagon stuck in the mud. The sheep and pig were pushing with all their might, but the wheels just wouldn't budge. Gertie tilted her head, fluffed her feathers, and marched right over. "Need a hand?" she asked with a smile. The others nodded gratefully. Without a second thought, Gertie placed her wings against the wagon and pushed. It didn't move at first, but she didn't give up. "Let's call our friends," she said, honking loudly. Soon, the cow, the bunny, and even the old farm dog came running. Together, they all pulled and pushed until the wagon finally rolled free with a big squish and a cheer from everyone. Later that day, Gertie noticed the little duckling struggling to reach the pond. She gently guided it with her wing. Then she helped the rooster find his missing corn and even fluffed up a tired goat's hay bed. Wherever Gertie went, smiles followed. The farm buzzed with happy energy as animals began helping each other, inspired by her kindness. As the sun dipped low and golden light stretched across the fields, Gertie stood by the fence, looking over the peaceful farm. The wagon was back by the barn, the animals were resting, and laughter floated in the breeze. Gertie knew that even the smallest gesture could make a big difference. With a contented honk, she settled in for the night, proud of the helpful day she'd had. The end. The Snake Says Something Nice, a moral story about choose kind words, they matter more than you know. Sally the snake lived near the edge of the meadow, where the flowers swayed and the grass tickled her smooth scales. A snake with gentle, smooth, pastel green scales that shimmered softly in the light, her long, curvy body moved gracefully through the grass. Her big, round eyes were full of kindness and curiosity, and a small pink bow rested just behind her head, adding a sweet touch to her cheerful appearance. She was quiet and kind, but often stayed alone, unsure of what to say to others. One morning, as she slithered through the tall grass, she heard the farm animals talking and laughing. She wanted to join, but the words felt stuck inside. As she watched from behind a bush, she saw Benny the bunny trip over a stone and fall. The other animals began to giggle. Sally felt a tug in her heart. She slithered out and said, "It's okay, Benny. That was a big hop, and you were so brave to try it." Benny's ears perked up, and he smiled. "Thanks, Sally," he said. Feeling a little braver, Sally continued on. She noticed the pig sitting near a muddy puddle under a shady tree, looking quiet and thoughtful. Sally slithered over and gave a gentle smile. "That mud looks extra cozy today," she said kindly. The pig giggled and gave Sally a happy nod. Nearby, the cow stood alone by a wooden fence, looking down at her hooves. Sally slid up beside her, tilting her head kindly. "Your spots are the prettiest I've seen all day," she whispered. The cow blinked, then gave Sally a soft smile. Later, Sally glided into a cozy barn where the cartoon sheep was nibbling on hay. The sheep looked surprised to see her. Sally smiled warmly. "Your wool looks extra fluffy today," she said sweetly. The sheep's tail gave a cheerful wiggle. From that day on, Sally made it her mission to say something kind to someone every day. She cheered on the chicks learning to fly and complimented the roosters singing. With every kind word, Sally's smile grew brighter and her heart lighter. She no longer stayed behind the bushes. Now, she joined in the games, shared in the laughter, and helped everyone feel seen and special. Sally learned that saying something nice didn't have to be scary, it could be the very thing that made a big difference. And in being kind, she made the meadow a warmer, happier place for everyone. The end.
The chick chooses kind words. A moral story about learns that words can hurt or heal. Charlie the chick was a bright little bird who lived on a sunny farm filled with happy animals. With his soft yellow feathers and tiny beak, he loved to chirp and chat all day long. But sometimes, Charlie would speak without thinking, and his words would come out a little too sharp. One morning, Charlie playfully chirped at a bouncing bunny, making a joke about the way it hopped. The bunny's smile faded, and it slowly hopped away. Charlie looked puzzled, not understanding why the bunny didn't laugh. Later, he teased the sleepy sheep for yawning too much. The sheep looked down and walked away quietly. Charlie tilted his head, beginning to wonder what went wrong. He told the pig her tail looked funny, and the pig frowned, sitting sadly in a puddle. Feeling unsure, Charlie sat alone under a tree, thinking about the things he had said. He remembered how the animals looked when they walked away, quiet, hurt, and not smiling. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves as Charlie began to understand that his words had made others feel sad. The next morning, he decided to try something new. He fluttered over to the sheep and softly said, "You always look so cozy when you rest." The sheep's tail wiggled with joy. Charlie smiled, feeling something warm inside. Then he chirped to the pig, "Your curly tail is one of a kind." The pig beamed and invited Charlie to play. As the day went on, Charlie continued to spread cheer. He told the cow her spots were beautiful, which made her moo with pride. He admired the pig's muddy jump, making the pig giggle and splash happily. And he clapped excitedly for the goat's climbing skills, causing the goat to grin and do a little hop. Each animal beamed with joy from Charlie's kind compliments. From that day on, Charlie made sure his chirps were cheerful and kind. He still loved to talk, but now he used his voice to spread smiles and help others feel special. The farm grew even happier with Charlie's kind words fluttering through the air. The end.